to do the mihi, and then when you're finished, I'll just take over from there. Does that sound good?
Okay.
Cool.
All right. So, are you ready? We'll start very shortly.
Yep.
I'm just going to mute you, Tree, because there's a lot of background noise.
Yeah, I will mute myself now.
Okay, cool.
I'm starting in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Kia ora koutou. I think we've got most people connected now, so I'll start a session with a mihi to get everything underway, and then I'll be handing over to Kit to carry on with the rest of the things organised for the day. So tēnei te wāhi kia mātou, te mihi atu kia koutou, kua whai whakaaro ki tēnei kaupapa.
Good morning.
Me te kia ke tēnei mea e whai ana e koutou ko tō pai tawhiti. Ko ngā hau hei whakatere i a koutou, ko wawata, ko manako, ko hia, o koutou o tira mō ngauri e whai ake nei. Anō reira, ko era hau e whakatere nei i a koutou, ka mihia, a me te tāpiri atu i tēnei hau, ko te hau o mihi, kia koutou, o tira ki o koutou tūpuna i whakariti a koutou. Anō reira, huri noa i tēnei whare kōrero o tātou, tēnei te mihi ake. So welcome everybody, welcome to this session, and just took a moment there to acknowledge the different motivations that everybody brings with them and the aspirations and dreams that you all, that have spurred you on and encouraged you to enroll in this program for yourselves, but also for the
You're muted. You're muted, yes.
yeah.
Good morning.
Well, hopefully you did well with the lip reading. But yeah, just reiterating the welcome, acknowledging the different ambitions and dreams that you all have for yourselves and the people that will benefit from what it is that you set out to pursue. So I'm not 100% sure what parts you caught and where the muting came in, but that's the main takeaway. And I think on that note, I'll hand over to Kit. Kia ora.
Tēnā koutou katoa, no ototahi ahau, he kai huri mā tauranga taku mahi, ko Kit tuku ingoa, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. So welcome to Start Me Up. This is powered by the Ministry of Social Development in Christchurch NZ and delivered by Ministry of Awesome and Think Lab. Now I just want to mention that this session is being recorded. I'm telling you that for two reasons. The first is that you can request a copy of this from Ministry of Awesome. The second is if you're not wearing pants and you get up to get a cup of tea, you should just take note that this is being recorded. So just be mindful of that. So I am Kit. I am a designer, a facilitator, an entrepreneur, and an activator. I started my first business when I was about 14. I used to make paper mache masks and sell them at the art centre. And then when I was in my early 20s, I set up New Media Design, which is a graphic and website design business, which is still running today, 20 years later. When I was about 32, I set up an online food retail business selling superfoods, organic foods, and some sort of local foods as well with my sister. And then I went on to develop a raw superfood bar that I sold in organic stores and yoga studios around the country. It was then that I realized that I was really into coaching and I wanted to help other people. And I trained as an NLP master practitioner and I started coaching. And then I found myself working at Ministry of Awesome as the startup activator, where I met heaps of people in the innovation space. And I coached early stage entrepreneurs and I understood what are the things that people starting businesses are struggling with. I'm now also working at a company called BOMA, where we focus on how to be more intelligent and intentional about the future, developing workshops and experiences for people. So that's a little bit about me. Before we get too deep into it, I just want to talk a little bit about the Zoom etiquette. So you'll notice that you are all on mute. There's a lot of people on this call, so that we can keep things clean. If you have a question, please just send it to me through the chat. Then when you're in breakout rooms, I can read through all the questions and answer the most common things that come up. You will get a chance to meet one another. When you do go into breakout rooms, please turn your cameras on and take yourself off mute so that you can see each other's lovely faces and have some chats. One of the things that I've learned about the startup industry is that the connections with other people in the community is so amazing in New Zealand. So really make use of one another. And yeah, that's all for the Zoom etiquette. So why are we doing the Start Me Up program? COVID has affected so many people around New Zealand, and this program is about the inspiration and the processes you can follow to build your dream or your business and use these processes to set yourself up for success. So I'm just going to share my screen with you while I go through what we're going to cover. Except where can I share the screen? I'm just having a little bit of difficulty with that. Here it is, perfect. Perfect. So week one, we're going to go today through a general introduction to entrepreneurship and the lean startup methodology, and we're going to meet Brendan from Brothers Green a bit later. Fingers crossed, because he's on a flight at the moment, so hopefully he gets here in time. Week two, we're going to learn all about the problem and the customer at the heart of any business. Week three, we're going to explore your solution and its unique point of difference. And then in week four, we're going to learn how you're going to make money with your business. Then in week five, we learn what channels you'll need to reach your customer and how you can measure your progress and your success. So there's going to be 3 facilitators over these weeks. This is me, Kit. I've already talked a little bit about myself. Then next week you are going to meet, Jeff. Jeff's best known as co-founder of SLI Systems, a leading software as a service-based site search company. I'm sure they put that in there just to make me trip over all those S's. Jeff has a mix of technical and business skills, has held a variety of roles, including engineering manager, VP of marketing, and CFO. Jeff is a trustee of the Ministry of Autumn and advisor to a number of startup companies, was previously the chair of Canterbury Tech, and he has an MBA from Massey. So you'll meet Jeff next week, and you'll meet Paul. He's an advisor at University of Canterbury Think Lab. He's also co-founder of a global online business, which after 10 years of hard graft was acquired by a London Stock Exchange listed corporation. These days, Paul enjoys writing about science, innovation, and entrepreneurship, and is excited about the potential for business to solve problems and change lives. So, what are you going to achieve over the next 4 weeks? You're going to gain a greater understanding and appreciation for self-employment and entrepreneurship as a career choice. You'll learn about the first key steps in building a business, following this process that we're going to go through a little bit later today, called the lean startup. You're going to apply that knowledge to an idea that you may or may not have, and you don't have to right now for a new business. Test that idea, get to grips with the real potential that it may or may not have, learn some skills you can apply to build your dream business or that you can use in your next career step, and meet other people like you looking at creating a startup. And hopefully you're also going to have some fun as well. Now, just a reminder that at the end of this course, you can apply for the Start Me Up Accelerator. So if you're keen to carry on developing your idea into a business, we're going to be taking 25 applicants through to an in-person business accelerator, assuming we're not in lockdown, which will begin on 20th of April. So put that on your calendar. When we get near the end of the 5 weeks together, we will send through an application form for the Start Me Up Accelerator. So have a look out for that in your inboxes. Anyone can apply, and the application is simply going to cover the key themes that we'll review over the next 5 weeks. Now, the accelerator is free, but it is intense and focused, and it will require in-person attendance at MSD Sydenham every week for 8 weeks, beginning on the 20th of April. So what are we hoping to get from you? What we want from you, come to the online course on time and diligently over the next 5 weeks. Be open-minded, be ready to learn, show up like a sponge with beginner's mind, And out of course time, we hope that you're going to reflect on what you've learned and apply it to your own ideas and take some notes. Have a device, a piece of paper or a computer nearby so that you can guide yourself once the class is over. But this is being recorded and we will be sharing the main slides as well. So what I'd like to do now, I've done a bit of talking, is to throw you into some breakout rooms and talk to one another. There should be about 5 people per room about what is your business dream. And if you haven't got one right now, just talk a little bit about why you are here today and make sure to introduce yourself before you do. Okay, Tree, if you could set up the breakout rooms now, that would be super awesome. And I'll see you back here shortly. So you'll get a prompt on your screen to join the breakout room and just hit the word join.
Kia ora, you're on mute. Oh. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Enterprises. I was GM of HR training and wellness, and since being made redundant, I've done all the coffees and the schmoozing around town and all the contacts and things like that. And I was sort of open to potentially doing a little bit of contracting, and several of my contacts were suggesting that potentially I could get into contracting. So because I've sort of got a bit of a mixture of corporate and charitable sectors, I sort of would really like to stay in sort of contributing to an organisation that's got really strong purpose. So I'm hoping potentially to do some contracting in the charitable sector, and actually have had somebody approach me on doing something for them for potentially a couple of months. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing this course on how to actually set things up, all the finances and spreadsheets, and got a good idea of business.
Okay. I've recently returned from Melbourne. I was working in the fashion industry over there. So I want to start a fashion label here in New Zealand where I have everything made here. And, you know, I want to buy all of my trims and fabrics from New Zealand businesses as well. So I've done a lot of the work already. I'm really here to learn more about business, and really I would like to learn how to create a business plan, because I really have no idea how to go about that at all. But yeah, that's it.
And prior to that, I was doing admin work at the council, kind of over admin work. Not quite sure what I want to do, but I wanted to start something up from home, but I haven't really got any concrete ideas yet. Possibly building on my admin skills. Online marketing, I have no idea. I'm just kind of jumping on board to see what everybody else is thinking and maybe get an idea from that, maybe.
For anyone who's just joining the call, we've got people in breakout rooms at the moment, so please just send a chat to Ministry of Awesome and they'll put you into a breakout room. We're just sharing what our dream business is, or the reason that we're here today. So we'll be coming back from breakout rooms in about 5 minutes.
And fully in Māori. So
okay.
Yeah, it would be nice to see some of it come back or all of it come back. And like New Zealand, I like that it's a melting pot. It's amazing that it has so much different culture, but it's somewhat losing its own historical background. And I also host a lot in tourism. I have, before the lockdown, around 100.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah,
okay, great. Okay. I'm not a local. I'm from Shanghai, and my English is not very good enough. I attended to this course because I.
That's right. That awkward silence.
Oh, we've got Ministry of Awesome.
Another reason I'm here as well is because DJing
I'm charging out as a sole trader. It's all been quite new to me. And my first few invoices, I calculated my GST wrong. which is it's not really an issue. It's only a small amount, and and I
It'll get sorted.
Welcome back. For those of you returning from your rooms, got about another 30 seconds until everybody comes back. Hope you've learned a little bit about some of the other people on this call, why they're here and what their dreams are. Okay, so that should be everyone back in the room. Welcome back. So when we get into this next section, I just want to share with you a little bit about what I have learned and what I would do differently, knowing what I know now with the various businesses that I've been involved in. I remember when I had started my 4th business, somebody referred to me as an entrepreneur, and I thought, don't be daft, I'm not an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs have way more skills and know-how than me. So it kind of got me thinking, well, what is an entrepreneur? And for me, an entrepreneur is something at the kind of intersection of somebody that's solving a problem, creating some sort of value, and then also taking action. So absolutely, I was an entrepreneur, but it seems like this big fancy word, and I didn't feel like I could kind of live up to it. So what are the things that I have learned? One of them is that there is so much support in New Zealand and Aotearoa for people starting businesses. So for example, when I started selling masks at the art centre when I was 14, I'm pretty sure you have to pay for those little areas where you sell things. But because I was 14, they must have wanted me to succeed. And so they let me do it for free. So even as young as 14, people were empowering me to be entrepreneurial. Then when I started Revolution Food Company, I understood that there's all these organisations that are supported by the government that are there to support businesses, like Ministry of Awesome as well. There's so much support out there, government funded, to help you, to give you tools, advice, coaching, so make sure that you use it. I never did. When I started my design business, I did it all on my own. I had no idea there were things out there to support me. So reach out and you really use those ecosystems. When I started working at the Ministry of Awesome, it blew me away what an amazing supportive innovation ecosystem we have. Head along to Coffee and Jam. You'll meet so many wonderful people who can help you, who can network with you to give you ideas and tools. So really use the support that's out there. The other thing I've learned is you don't have to be an expert in everything to start. You can build the plane as you fly it. So don't be afraid to fail. When I started new media design, I had no business knowledge. I never thought like, oh, I'm going to start a business. I should go and read some books on business and learn some tools and frameworks. Not at all. I just figured it out as I went, and I learned so much along the way. So really don't be afraid to fail. Like, fail fast, learn fast. It's a really exciting thing. You don't have to know everything before you begin. I learned heaps about marketing when I started the food company. And one of the main things I learned there was that it's not good enough to have a product that people like. You need to find ways to constantly remind them that you're there and make it really easy for them to reach out and buy your products. When I was doing the food businesses as well, I learned so much about food manufacturing, but I knew nothing to start with. So I just had to get online and understand about shelf life and the tools that I needed and the laws, but there are people there to help and support you. So you don't need to know everything to start with, just do it. The last thing I want to touch on is have a think about your trajectory. So with when I made my little raw evolution bar, my little superfood bar, I started the business because I was passionate about it. It was exciting. I loved branding and packaging, so that was really fun. But I learned then that I was kind of a startup person. And 5 years on, I'd gotten a bit bored with putting the bars in courier packs and sending them out. They may as well have been staplers at that point. Like, it just wasn't inspiring to me anymore. So when it came time to sell the business, the profit was actually not looking that good, because I never thought when I started it, hey, what's the trajectory here? Shall I sell this business in the end? In which case, maybe I should be strategic about making it look like the sales are really going up rather than just kind of getting bored and then selling it sort of at the bottom of the hill. So that's some things that I've learned looking back that I would do differently. So let's get into module 1 and get really into just an introduction to entrepreneurship. What you're going to learn is what's involved in starting a business and what are the qualities that make a successful business owner. And we might go into some breakout rooms and chew on that and throw that around as well. What are the advantages and disadvantages of being self-employed? What are the different types of business? What does success even mean? And then we'll do an introduction to the lean startup methodology. And then hopefully Brendan from Brothers Green is going to come on at the end and talk a little bit about his entrepreneurial journey, his values, and how that's really affected how he does things. For the 4th year in a row, New Zealand is the easiest place in the world to do business. And I can vouch for that. When I set up New Media Design when I was 22, it was so simple. It all happened in a matter of a couple of hours online. If that hadn't been the case, I probably wouldn't be here today. There'd been all these hurdles in the way. I probably wouldn't have had that sense of success. It's so easy to just get there, get online and set up your business. So I'm just going to share my screen with you again. So it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Once you've validated your business idea, decide what type of business you want to found. Is it a for-profit business, a social enterprise, a charity? Register your company on companies.gov.nz. You can also register for tax and GST there as well. Establish a bank account. 1, 2, 3, like literally it is that easy. Why would you want to validate your business idea first? Well, almost all businesses that fail because of market demand or because of your own sort of limiting beliefs. So this thing in the background that you can see here called Juicero was a classic special juicer that got heaps and heaps of investment behind it, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it had a little plastic pouch that you could put your juice in, various different fruits, in order for it to be squeezed into a glass underneath. They realized afterwards that actually you could just squeeze that pouch with your hands. You didn't even need the juicer. It was an epic fail. They really didn't validate whether or not people were going to use it or whether it was really needed. The other example here is a flashback from the 80s or 90s called Pepsi AM. Pepsi thought it would be really good to market a drink that people could drink for breakfast. Once again, they didn't validate it. They just took a guess, put it on the market, and it was an absolute flop. So you don't want to be one of those. Make sure that there's actually a market for your product. And don't forget, like I said, to reach out to the startup community, amazing funding opportunities, Ministry of Awesome, and also head along to Coffee and Jam. So What makes a successful entrepreneur? Let's have a think about that together. We're going to put you in breakout rooms and talk amongst yourselves about the skills and qualities that you think make a successful entrepreneur. And then we'll come back into the room and we'll share our ideas. So Tree, can you set up those breakout rooms for me again, please?
Not going to make a business.
Yeah, I like that bit about validating, just checking that there is a market and that people want the service I want to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
See what the competition is.
Yeah. Or if like
just throw it into the chat window, some of the skills and qualities that you think make a good entrepreneur, just so we can see them all coming up. If you can just make sure that you share it all so that everybody gets to see the ideas. Drive, nice one. Nice, Ariana. Persistence, passion, self-starters, willpower, positivity, absolutely. Oh, now it's going too fast for me to keep up. Fantastic. Great. Yeah, willing to take feedback. Good one. Perseverance, tenacity. I love this. Oh, this is fantastic. Brilliant. Absolutely. Oh, you've got it, team. You have got it. That's beautiful. Super. Great. What a great list of words. And I'm going to make that list available to everybody as well. A few that we put together ourselves is having a growth mindset. So what I talked about earlier, like I don't know it now, but I can learn it. I don't need to be an expert, rather than like I don't know it, so I can't do it, so I'll just stay put. Being resourceful and determined. We've got that lovely saying about Kiwis and their number 8 wire, and just a focus on making shit happen. Like we can do it. Don't be afraid to fail. Having some domain expertise. So what are you really good at? What do you know a lot about? What are you passionate about? This plus a good idea that has market demand and can stand out against the competition makes a very successful entrepreneur. I definitely still come up on that list, motivation and self-discipline. Everybody's allowed to have a duvet day from time to time, but setting goals and achieving them is really important. And work on your mindset. Don't let your inner critic hold you back. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The other thing is really about taking action. There's a lovely story from my friend Steve Gardula, who wrote the book Action Surge, The Science of Action, about a guy that went online to find an inflatable pink flamingo for a pool party that he was having, and he couldn't find one anywhere. So he got online, he got in touch with somebody in China, he sent them his design. He ordered, 100,000 inflatable pink flamingos. He set up inflatablepinkflamingo.com, and he made an obscene amount of money because he was the first person to make inflatable pink flamingos. I think his website's not gone anymore, but now when you look up inflatable pink flamingos, there's heaps of them out there. But he was the first guy to do it. He took action immediately, and it really paid off. Now, that's not a good example of validating your business idea, but it is a good idea of someone taking action straight away. I want to talk also about the inner critic because it's something that can really stand in the way of you having the success that you deserve. The inner critic is just a strategy that's used by our safety instinct to protect us from emotional risk. The inner critic isn't accurate or realistic. It's often not kind. It sometimes comes from a kind of internal voice of maybe a parent or a teacher or our old boss or that mean kid at school. So there's a few strategies that you can do to really help deal with that inner critical voice. Notice and label it. Oh, that's the inner critic. That's not real. Separate I from the inner critic. Oh, the inner critic is telling me that I can't do it or that I don't have enough skills. compassionately see the inner critic's motives. Hey, thanks, inner critic. I get that you're just trying to keep me safe, but actually I've got this from here, thanks. You could create a character for your inner critic. What does it look like? What does its voice sound like? What kind of clothes does it wear, to really separate it out? Or just try removing it from the scene. So when you hear that voice or you imagine that character, just kind of pick it up, take it to the door and throw it out. And the other thing that really helps is to tap into your own inner mentor. We've all got one you can tap into to get advice and counsel for someone that really believes in you. As well as an inner critic, we've got an inner mentor. So really utilize that resource. So I'm going to share my screen again while we get into the good and the bad of entrepreneurship. What are the good things? Well, being your own boss. I can't stress enough how fantastic that is. You can make your own future. It's all yours. You don't have to share this with anyone. If you're used to being charged out at an obscene rate, suddenly that money is all yours, along with all the overheads as well. You get to do what you love every single day, and you have absolute flexibility. These are all really amazing pros. But of course, there's the other side as well. You have to lead yourself. So self-discipline is critical. People used to often ask me when I have my own business, like, oh, wow, you must be so disciplined. But, you know, when you've got a client waiting for a design or something, it's pretty easy to be disciplined unless you're feeling happy about letting people down. So that discipline comes with your own sense of pride. You're on your own, it's true, but you know, secretly you're not on your own because there's so many resources and support people out there to help you. You own the debt as well as the profit. You own the downside as much as the upside. It's totally true. There can be a lot of stress, so really managing your well-being and your mindset becomes a very important thing. What you love can become a chore, so be wary of that. And work-life balance can sometimes go out the window. So make sure that you set a plan and be really mindful of looking after yourself and your own mental health and well-being. So let's talk about what type of organisation you are building. Here's this spectrum of different types of organisations, right from a traditional charity on one side to a traditional business on the other, and then right in the middle is a social enterprise. A social enterprise where you're making a profit, but you're also making an impact and doing good. So have a think for yourself about what type of organisation you want to set up. And we'll be hearing from Brendan, touch wood, in a little bit about his organisation and his values. So we'll just stop that share. So I want to get now into talking a little bit about this lean startup methodology. But before I go too far, if you're the sort of person that's hearing a lot of words, I remember when I first got into the innovation ecosystem and I heard words like innovation and lean startup methodology and validation and entrepreneurship, and it all sounded a little bit intense for me. Don't worry, they're all just big words for concepts that you already know really well. So just work along with me. So let's get into the lean startup methodology. When I first started my business, New Media Design, there was an organisation in Christchurch a long time ago, 20 years or so, called the CDC, and they gave me a big, thick business plan, a big, thick document like this that was pages and pages and pages for me to work through my business idea. These days, the lean startup methodology comes with a very simple canvas that is just one page. So the lean startup, it takes a scientific approach to starting a business. It's really simple, and it's a process that ensures that you've got clarity and focus to identify opportunity and also to minimize any risks. The lean startup went mainstream when a guy called Eric Ries maybe wrote the book, The Lean Startup, which soon became the absolute Bible with startups from Silicon Valley to Tel Aviv to Vietnam, like really all over the world. So the basic premise is that all successful companies start with a customer problem and a solution to that problem. This seems obvious, but a lot of entrepreneurs will start and stay focused on their idea and how excited they are about it, but not on the customer or on the problem that they might be solving. So let's have a look and see how it works. I'll share my screen again and I will show you the lean canvas. So this beautiful thing that you see in front of you is the lean canvas. And we're going to work through it with a made-up idea called Gelato Garden, a food truck positioned near Hagley Park Playground, targeting parents of young children on their way in or out of the park. So let's work through this canvas with our made-up Gelato Garden idea. So we're going to start with the key four: problem, solution, customer and unique value proposition. And just as I mentioned at the beginning, if anyone has any questions, just please do throw them into the chat and I will get to them when I can. So the first thing here is problem. So we're going to list the problems and the existing alternatives. So what is the problem in this situation? Kids and parents are looking for a sweet treat to kick off or cap off a great day in the park. There's only a few food options in the park. They're either too expensive, inconveniently placed, or serve mass-produced product. The existing alternatives are the Ilex Cafe and the ice cream stand at the kids' playground. So that's a really clearly defined problem that we're going to set out to solve. What is the solution? The solution is Gelato Garden. It's a gelato truck that serves gelato with huge appeal. It's colourful, fun, delicious, and it also satisfies parents for convenience and the artisan quality. So there's our problem and our solution. The customer segments: kids, toddlers or tweens, parents and grandparents. So this is where we list all the potential customers or users depending on what your business is going to be. The unique value proposition. So this is all about what's unique about you as compared to somebody else that might be doing something similar or part of your competition. So in this case, it's gelato, not ice cream like they already sell at the Botanic Gardens, and it's made by an Italian family with an old, authentic recipe from Venice. So this is quite unique. That's what makes it really stand out. What is the unfair advantage? I've decided to get deep and we'll do all of the blocks. So in this case, only we have the secret recipe plus access to discounted ingredients because we're doing bulk importing from Italy. So that's our unfair advantage. It's like the secret weapon that only you may have access to. The channels. So this is just the different sort of ways that you will market. So in this case, word of mouth will be one of the things. So people will tell their friends and tell their other friends at school. Social media. So maybe they're going to have a Facebook page or an Instagram page. They might do some radio advertising. And then of course, there's the foot traffic walking through the gardens. What are the key metrics? So what are the important numbers that you're going to have to keep looking at to know that you're going to be successful? How do you measure whether you're successful or not? So in this case, it could be the number of gelato cones sold, the profit, or maybe it's the social media followers and shares. So there's going to be various different metrics or numbers that you're going to look at to see how you're doing. The cost structure. So there's going to be fixed costs and variable costs, things like ingredients, napkins, the power, the petrol, and then there's going to be marketing. That's going to be going up and down, flyers, websites, social media, and maybe you need to have a commercial kitchen and fit out the van with that. So have a good think when you're filling this in for yourself, like what are all the various different costs that you're going to need to cover, either the fixed costs or the things that are going to be changing. The different revenue streams. So there's going to be selling the cones, maybe they'll come up with an idea for a club membership, and maybe they'll have special deals for festivals and events. So that's just going through this lean canvas. It's so much easier than filling in a huge big business plan. It's just one page. It's a great way to fill different bits and pieces in to see if you've got an idea, like I've got this problem, but have I really got the solution? Or I've got a solution, but what is the actual problem that I'm solving? So this is a wonderful way to just work through an idea. And when you're going for investment, it's a great thing to take in so that you can really clearly show on one page, what's the idea? What am I solving? What's unique about it, etc. So that's a really useful little framework that the Lean Startup methodology uses for all of its thinking. So we've got the canvas, we've got the different skills and the qualities that make up a successful entrepreneur. And now what I want to do is a little thing that I call a pre-mortem. So it's like a post-mortem, but it happens before the fact. So what are the things looking forward that might stand in the way of you being successful? So it could be your own mindset. It could be the people around you. It could be the environment. What are the things that might stop you from being successful? And what can you do now to avoid those things? So I'm going to pop you into breakout rooms again so you can discuss in your small groups, what are the things that might stand in your way and how can you remove those obstacles before they become a problem? Fantastic. That is everyone back. Welcome back, everybody. So I'm going to do a little experiment. I know that there's a lot of people on this call, but I think this, probably more than anything else that we've discussed in breakout rooms, is something that can really help. This could really help the other people on the call to understand what are the obstacles that may stand in your way and what can you do to remove them. I think this could be a really used kind of hive mind in this way to support one another. So I would love it if anyone is willing to share, unmute yourself and just share some of the things that have come up for you.
This is Dibs. Oops, is someone else speaking? My biggest thing is that I overanalyze things. And so therefore I think I've got that critical inner voice going and wanting to, or a bit of a perfectionist. And so I want to get it all done before I get there. So I think that's actually one of my biggest roadblocks.
Thanks, Dibs. Yeah, that's really a common one.
One of my roadblocks in starting up my business is whether to work out how to get investment or money from someone in particular, or grants or that sort of thing. So if we could talk about gaining investors, or also what grants we have available to us, that would be really helpful.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that will be covered in one of the further sessions. Jeff will confirm that.
Definitely.
One of the obstacles I've found.
Go ahead, Dean.
Okay, one of the obstacles I've found, one of the biggest things is trying to do too much at once, and so that the obstacle is myself.
Mm-hmm.
So write down all the objectives, goals, targets, etc., and just work through each one and connect with people who can help. It might be a Facebook group where you're sharing a similar idea, but soak up other people's experience. Don't rely on myself to try and pluck my way through. Is to, they say if you want to be rich, you mix with rich people. And if you want to run a business, mix with business people.
Nice.
So the obstacle is fear of not having enough knowledge, but to overcome that, to share with other people.
Good one. Thanks, Dean.
An obstacle for me would be my mindset, definitely, and how to overcome that. So I think keeping your mental health in check, knowing that, okay, things might not work out, but how to get around that without taking it on board too much. So just kind of having that mental awareness and strategies in place so you know you can get through it.
Good one. Good one. Thanks, Vanessa.
Mine is capital and capital really, and the process that it takes for investments.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be covering that in a further session.
For me, I think at the moment, it's to carve enough time, out of my daily schedule to really dive into banking and setting up my business. It takes time.
Yeah.
Kia ora, everybody. I have had a few, but one of them was, a lot of things I don't know, like around the tax side of stuff and how to create a proper business plan to put forward. And I suppose the fears of unknown, and so that can really stop me in my tracks. One thing I heard recently from one of my mentors was keep it simple, stupid. So I'm trying to remember that. And one of my cousins was like, just try not to do too many things, just, essentially the same sort of thing, So.
Nice one. Thanks, Joe.
My biggest fear is keeping very, very good ideas out of the hands of the wrong people, whilst getting yourself started and getting a customer base, which is actually searching for a customer base for my particular idea. It doesn't seem to be an issue. It's maintaining maintaining the idea and correct intellectual property rights. Just making sure that the business has the security, I guess, because one of my particular ideas is something, and I've said it in the breakout rooms, is something that I cannot do alone. But the benefits are great enough for me to want to give it a go. One of the reasons I'm here. So, but the fear doesn't go away. So meeting the right people and the right path to launching it is very poignant for me. It's the main reason I'm here.
Nice. Thank you.
I have one barrier for me is that I have loads of ideas, but I don't know how to validate them.
It's okay. We're going to cover that in a future workshop. So we got you.
One for me is quite personal in that I'm dyslexic, and everybody around me knows that I'm dyslexic. So finding the right help and stuff to get over that barrier is very important for me. So especially financial things and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I would second that. Like I'm not dyslexic, but I certainly deal with you know, a problem that makes doing things actually difficult, really difficult. And it's really hard to explain to people who are just able to do things and who are a bit more normal. But I think the other barrier I face in my instance is that what I would like to do requires a designated workspace, and having the resources and the capital to set up and be able to maintain a workspace in order for me to do what I want to do.
Good one.
Yeah, further on that mental health thing, sorry for speaking a second time. I'm on the autistic spectrum, so some kind of resource for those of us who have differentiated abilities would be really helpful.
Amazingly helpful, absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, team. I'm definitely making note of that. It sort of brings me on to the other thing about really understanding what you can outsource and who you can partner with, because we're not all salespeople and marketing people and accountants and designers. Like, we can't always do it all. So finding a team and other people to collaborate with, and running a business on your own can be quite a lonely thing. And so I just want to, again, try another little experiment, that if you're open to partnering with somebody else, maybe just throw into the chat to everybody else the kind of industry that you're looking at and what your skills are and what you might be looking for, because there's a bunch of people on this call, and who knows, there could be this could be the beginning of a beautiful relationship for some of you out there to work together where you're balancing one another's skills. So if you're open to that, throw it into the chat. If you're not, that's fine as well. You know, a lot of people don't want to share their ideas at this stage. It's fine, Steve.
Thank you.
I've just got another thing to add there. For people who do have disabilities, I've personally suffered from depression, but I've managed to find some really good tools to deal with it. I consider myself lucky. I still get faced with it. I think everyone during COVID has been faced with it in a different light, even if they haven't done before. So one of them, another idea I had when I was looking for ideas and tech ideas for startup, came from a DJ gig I did. I was actually doing lighting at it, and there was a girl behind the bar upon setup who could not look at any flashing lights. She was a manager of the bar, and so we had to literally wait for her to leave because she's so sensitive in epilepsy. That weekend before the gig, I'd been at a startup symposium and seen some glasses which allow people to see 3D and pull it out of the screen and etc. by Cambridge, I believe. I thought this was rather gimmicky, but I immediately came up with the idea of using the LCD flickering glass display to limit and frame blend out for epileptic people. So you can see screens, immediately sync the screens or out of them respectively. And it seemed to me that they could be customized to the individual, etc. So what I'm getting at is, this is just something that passed me because something I'd recently seen, right? And I'm technically that way. I just see things straight away. I see the end product and how to do it straight away almost. But for people with disabilities, serving other people with disabilities is a great way, is a great startup. It's something that you'll know in some fashion or another. So some people who have disabilities might be best suited to having a startup and focusing their idea or bending it to help other people of like minds, even if it only be socially. Even if it means starting online social groups that are on, they already exist. But if you can understand me, if you're having trouble with everything else, then maybe, you know, meet other people of like minds and get together with that. You might be able to make products which make not only your own lives better, but have an instant customership, and you will know exactly where to go to serve them as well. Just another.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, the power of the team around you to balance the skills that you may not have is it's a huge force and something that, I mean, I personally feel really grateful for, because I'm sort of slightly ADHD, so I've got lots of ideas and lots of enthusiasm, but I find it hard to you know, fill in those spreadsheets and, you know, the attention to detail and finishing things off. So lucky for me, I have a team of other people who really love all those little details. And so we balance each other really well. So yeah, do reach out to other people and let them know, like, hey, here's what I'm great at and here's what I'm not so great at. You know, can you fill in those blanks? And then you could be a real powerhouse team. Thinking about back to the kind of the purpose and the very beginning of your Lean Camp, about the sort of why behind your business, I want to show a quick clip. It's a chap called Simon Sinek who did a TED talk called Start With Why. He's also written a book by the same name. I highly recommend reading it, but this is a very brief introduction to his little framework. Can you hear that okay?
Nope.
No volume. Okay, well then I won't show it to you. I will just send it to you so that you can watch it in your own time. So we've got a couple of minutes to see if Brendan's going to run off his flight and jump onto our call. Does anybody have any questions or comments in the last few minutes before we get on to Brendan? It's lovely to see all of your lovely ideas coming through the chat. Make sure to have a look. Once this call is over, you're not going to be able to kind of privately message anybody in the group, so maybe jump on that now. But I'll talk to Tree from Ministry of Awesome as well, and those of you who are willing to share your email addresses so people can connect with us, we can do so.
Something I was wanting to ask is there anything that we haven't covered that you think is really important for us to know at this stage?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is really just one of the first few workshops that we're going to go through. So this is just an introduction. I'll be seeing you again, I think, on workshop 5 of the Zoom sessions. But yeah, this is, I think, a really good introduction. I think that the canvas is kind of everything you need to think about in your business in the kind of absolute pared down version. What other things would I say? Have fun. Just try and have fun with it. Don't worry if you don't have all the answers, and just make use of the people around you and all of the organisations that are there to support you. I was blown away at how many places were, you know, funded by the government there just to help me in my business, just to coach me, give me connections. And I got a commercial kitchen for free when I was first setting up my business. Really, I've been so lucky because New Zealand is amazingly supportive for startups.
Could I share something? Sorry.
Go ahead, mate.
I'd like to share something to the group. Obviously, I think we're all in Christchurch, most of us. Inland Revenue are holding seminars on intro to business and GST, that type of thing. They're 3 free 2-hour seminars held at Russley Road. They were cancelled this week, but they're starting up again next week. Just go to the Inland Revenue website and check, do a search for seminars, and you can register for free. So, very similar to this one. It's just another tool I put out there.
Thanks, Dean. Love the idea of the Facebook group, and I'll pass that on to Ministry of Awesome to see if they can set that up. I know probably not all of you are on Facebook, so maybe we could see if there's another platform that we could use for everyone to message. Was there somebody else that had a question or a comment?
Just a quick one asking if this is going to be the same day that we're doing this each week.
I think so. Yes, I believe that it's always 10 till 12 on a Tuesday, although the other workshops are going to be 1 hour long.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Cool. Because the initial email that we received from Start Me Up said it was starting sometime in February last month, and then it changed. So I
That's
just
right.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, I believe that it is going to be on a Tuesday, but this is the only one that's 2 hours, just so we could meet one another, get a good vibe going, and just go through the absolute basics. WhatsApp group potentially, or a messenger group, somebody else is saying. Any other questions or comments?
Another thing I was thinking is I think it would be really valuable just in terms of being able to meet more people within this seminar or the series of seminars, if we could transition through those little breakout groups as well.
There'll be different. There'll be different breakout rooms next time for sure.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and if there's anything else that would support your learning or anything else that you'd particularly like to cover that I haven't mentioned is going to be covered in future workshops, please do just throw it into the chat or let us know.
Would there be anything around existing networking organisations?
Absolutely. Yep. We can share a list of all of the great players in the startup ecosystem that you can connect with. It's going to be different for different people. For example, I discovered Food South and the Food Innovation Network when I started my food businesses. But if you're in the design industry, then that's not going to be relevant for you. So there's going to be, and there are different meetup groups if you're in, manufacturing or engineering or design. So we'll get a list, and that's what Ministry of Awesome does so well, is they connect all of the different players in the ecosystem and make sure that you've got the right connections.
How do we share?
How do you share?
Share screen.
Yeah. Am I doing it now?
It's possibly been disabled if you are not a host. Yes, Robbie, I do believe that you can just rock up to Coffee and Jam. And if you have a look in the chat now, there are some resources that Ministry of Awesome shared on the Te Ohaka Startup Resources link.
Kurt, that video that you were intending to share with us, are you going to email that out to us, or is that all in the chat?
I'll email it out to you, but I'm also going to post it in the chat.
Okay. And will the PowerPoint slides be sent out as well? Because you ripped through them really quickly and I couldn't keep up.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I do go fast. There's the video of the chat, and the slides are definitely going to get sent out to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I'll give Brendan maybe another couple of minutes, but I'm just going to recap what we went over today. So I introduced you to the overall program and the facilitators that you're going to be meeting over the next few weeks. You've learned the basic steps and the first steps in getting a business started. We looked at the qualities to develop in yourself to ensure that you're successful. We've reviewed the advantages and the disadvantages of being an entrepreneur. We looked at different types of business structures, from a traditional business to a charity with a social enterprise in the middle. And then we looked at the lean startup methodology, had a quick run through the canvas that you'll get when you get the slides sent out, and then met one another and really talked about the obstacles that could stand in our way and how to kind of deal with that in a critical voice. Just a reminder that next week we're going to be handing over to Jeff and Paul from Think Lab at the University of Canterbury, and they're going to be drilling deeper into the lean canvas and starting off with the problem and the customer. So we haven't got Brendan, so I'm guessing that his flight.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see you come in. I was looking through the list. That's fantastic.
Sorry.
Well, welcome. How was your flight? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, awesome. How was your flight?
Got up here and yeah, can you hear me?
Perfect.
Yeah, good flight.
Yeah, awesome.
Queenstown to Christchurch, nice and easy.
Cool. Hey, so Brendan, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started? So where were you working before Brothers Green, and can you tell us a little bit about Brothers Green and what it is?
Yeah, well, kia ora everyone. So it's a bit of a long-winded story, but ever since my second year at university, I was studying neuroscience and watching my flatmate spends hundreds of dollars on supplements, and me thinking that I can make better ones for cheaper. So yeah, that sort of got me into the supplement space and started researching products and bought out a pre-workout, but and got tested on my mates, and a few of them came out in rashes and stuff. So I sort of learned about the dosages and things that way. And yeah, obviously, so that's where I started, and then I went on to do pharmacy, and yeah, finished pharmacy, went into my internship over on the coast, and then came back to Christchurch and started working for a naturopathic pharmacist. And he sort of pushed me to go and do some post-grad training in nutritional environmental medicine. And while I was doing that over in Melbourne, I came across, well, I started learning about the benefits of a plant-based diet. And so I thought I need to do some plant-based supplements. And from there, was looking at importing some pea protein from Europe, but then met a med student, Tori, who said, what about hemp? And so I'd been a pharmacist for about 4 years at that stage, and I still thought hemp was marijuana. So I didn't want to be associated with it. I said, I can't be associated with that, I'm a health professional. But she was like, no, it's not marijuana, it is cannabis species, but it's actually nature's most nutrient-rich seed. Gave me a few readings and then introduced me to a guy in Ashburton who was growing it. And yes, so at that time, hemp was only legal for animal use only. So I, yeah, I got a bag and then made into smaller pouches, called it Beefy Green, and got my mate's dogs and took some pictures of the dogs with the hemp protein on it and put it on Instagram and said it was a dog food. And then from there, was just doing that. And then this guy, Brad, came along one night to buy a bag of hemp. He didn't have a dog, so but he was actually a rural banker up in North Canterbury. And he came around after work one night and told me about his life story and about how he's trying to find another option for the farmers around North Canterbury, because it was the dairy downturn and they're just going through the worst drought in decades. So he came across the hemp plant as a viable option for these farmers, but obviously there's no market, at least in New Zealand, for these products yet. So he wanted to join forces with me, and so he came on board, and then we started going to the Christchurch farmers markets, and yeah, just selling hemp bliss balls for dogs, and then hemp seed oil was actually legal, so we were selling hemp seed oil as a salad dressing. And then, yeah, so we were still called Beefy Green at that stage. And then we were told to sort of come, we were approached to enter this food starter competition, which we thought looked pretty cool, but then our business mentor at the time said that we can't enter it because hemp's not a food. But we did know that the law was changing sort of a month after the competition. And then obviously didn't listen to our business mentor and just put an application in anyway, and ended up getting to the top 5 and had to go and pitch to a panel which had like Steve Anderson, the CEO of Foodstuffs, and Marion was actually on the panel. So I was, and then another couple of big dogs. So it was quite scary, but yeah, we sort of just said we were pitching a high protein snack bar for gym goers, but we're more focused on the story around how we wanted to eliminate chronic disease using hemp, and also giving the North Canterbury farmers another crop option to help them out. And you know, I guess we won. Steve Anderson said we won because of our story, and to be successful in the food starter, we need to change the name of our company and the product that we're making. So he told us to focus on kids snack bars. We pushed back on the name change, but then they did a survey around Foodstuffs head office, and everyone thought we were selling bone broth. So yeah, we went away that afternoon and came up with the Brothers Green. And then it was still another year before we actually got the bars made and ready to go into the New Worlds as part of that prize.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you've got a kind of a short-term solution and a long-term solution. So we've just been through the lean canvas. So I'm sort of thinking like problem solution. So what would be the problem that you're solving?
Yeah, it's probably not. We're probably not the best example of sticking to these lean canvas things, but I guess we're trying to eliminate chronic disease, and that is the problem. I guess New Zealand is the 3rd most obese country in the world, and then with the kids snack bars, when we first started, New Zealand kids were the 3rd most obese in the world, and then now last year some stats came out that we're actually up to number 2 now, so it's not getting any better.
Wow.
And that's a pretty huge problem. And so I guess there's a lot of people doing solutions to this problem, but I guess if we stick to what we know as these snack bars that got no refined sugar, and they've got about 20% less sugar than any other snack bar in the lunchbox category. If we can create these health products that are actually healthy for people and adding to their health rather than contributing to chronic disease, that's one part of the solution. But then the second part is making the business as profitable as possible, because we're putting 10% of all profits into, we're creating a sort of a retreat and then an ongoing program for people with chronic disease. So that's sort of, yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem, and it's not going to take one solution, but we're doing the best we can with our tools and using the hemp plant to do that.
Nice. So Brendan, what do you think is the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
Definitely knowing that all these hours that you're working, these long hours, is actually towards your own dream and not someone else's. Which is pretty good. And I guess probably have to say the freedom. Well, I've got a couple of kids now, and being able to go to the touch games or go to school drop-offs at any point during the week is quite good. But I guess on the flip side of that, my mates think that I don't work, so I guess they don't see that I can do that, but then I'm up till midnight catching up on emails and things like that. So yeah, I like the freedom, and knowing that it is your dream that you're working on.
Nice. And so what do you think are the worst things then about being an entrepreneur?
Worst thing, obviously, definitely the stress of wondering where or when our next investment's coming from, or now that we've got a bit of a team, sort of making sure they're all right. We've got about 13 employees now, so I guess that's jumping ahead a bit, but knowing that everyone in the team's fitting well and enjoying it, and I guess they look into us for direction, which at sometimes Brad and I don't really know what direction we're going in ourselves, so it's hard to sort of keep the team on track that way.
Sure.
But,
so you've got a co-founder. Do you think it makes it easier to be an entrepreneur doing it with someone else?
yeah, definitely. Especially Brad's got a complete different background to me. He's a banking and knows a lot about the environment and farming and things like that, whereas I'm more obviously a pharmacist, so more just focusing on health. But at the same time, I guess I thought I was sort of the big picture thinker with all the ideas, but then Brad's come along and he's just got 100 times more ideas than me, and he's really passionate and really truly believes that we can change these stats and change the world and change farming. So yeah, it sort of keeps that, definitely something to keep me motivated along the way. I guess if I was doing it by myself, obviously, one, I wouldn't have these ideas, or I guess the courage to take these leaps. But if you got someone else next to you and you're both energetic and fizz, then yeah, it makes it easier to make those jumps.
That's awesome. It sounds like you've got a really good balance of energy there.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
You're talking about kind of transforming the farming sector. Like, what is the mission or purpose of Brothers Green?
So our mission, is to eliminate chronic disease through nutrition. I guess in terms of sort of higher level, we do have another couple of companies that they're using hemp, but they're in different markets. So we've got a skincare, clothing, food, and then now we're just about to launch a nutritional supplement company. And then from that, we've created another company. Luckily, Brad went to Lincoln. He's got some farming mates that we've put together, a company that actually grows and processes the hemp for us now up in North Canterbury. And that mission there is obviously just to get as much hemp in the ground as possible, knowing that its environmental benefits about nitrogen leaching, cleaning up the soils, plus it absorbs 4 times more carbon than a pine tree or pine plantation in about a third of the time. So that is I guess, for Brad's dream of giving the North Canterbury farmers another option, a viable option, as well as trying to save the planet. That's why we've gone so hard and actually convinced people to come on board with us to get these processing units and equipment and land up in North Canterbury. And then we've got obviously these retail brands that are all on their own missions, and especially with Brothers Green, if the food industry is obviously a pretty massive one to change, and we've obviously been struck with the realities of the snack bar category and how competitive it is. But we're sort of banking on our story, and our mission to eliminate chronic disease is going to help us to be successful in those categories. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it sounds like you've been on a massive journey, and your business has had babies, and those babies have had babies, and there's all these kind of offshoots. When you look back, would you change anything? Like, if you could give yourself advice at the beginning of your journey, like what would that be?
Yeah, I guess we chewed our way through a lot of different business mentors at the start, because every single one of them told us to focus. And I guess now we're coming into the 4th year, and we obviously with financial issues, we have been forced to focus now. So maybe if we did sit down at the start with it, I was looking at the Lean Canvas 1-pager, even doing something like that, at least at the start would have been good. But then at the same time, we were pretty young and naive and thought we were going to change the world in a couple of years. So yeah, sort of struggled to listen to people. But obviously, yeah, we've figured that out ourselves now after 4 years, and yeah, obviously making changes to the way we do things now, and we're not so fast to jump into things.
Yeah, I was laughing because I totally resonate, having started a business when I was a lot younger as well. It's like, yeah, I know it all. I don't need any of those frameworks. But yeah, I totally get that. You're listening to people, like, seriously, look at the canvas.
And I guess everyone's saying, it'll take 5 years to see any progress and things like that. And we're like, nah, like, we've just won this competition. We're going to be massive. But yeah, I mean, we're 4 years now and still not profitable. So yeah, it's still a way to go yet. Sure. Being brought back to reality a lot.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Brendan, is there any advice you'd specifically give to Māori or Pacifica entrepreneurs just starting out?
Yeah, I think mainly, I guess for me, coming up against, like, I guess these mainstream business mentors and advisors, we've had a lot along the way. I guess being Māori and knowing my whakapapa, I know where I've come from and therefore where I'm going. And you get, I guess when you start out, you're getting all these experts, so-called experts, giving you all this advice and telling you what to do. But when it comes down to it, just me knowing myself, and also with Brad, we know our mission, and we know what is good for us and our people and the land. I guess, for example, New Zealand Trade and Enterprise told us we've got our skincare company called Koaka, which is loosely translated to hemp in Te Reo. And we had, I guess, solid shampoos and soaps, and it was mainly Te Reo in the instructions. And they were telling us in the descriptions of the products, and they told us to not do that with, obviously, because they're looking at export markets and how that might sort of hinder sales, I guess. But for me, being Māori and like I think Anton was supposed to be on this call, but I had a conversation with him a couple of years back, and he was telling me chuck as much te reo on the products as possible. We need to revitalize the language, and if these are mainstream products and mainstream people are looking at them every day, they're going to start learning te reo along the way. So we've sort of stuck to that and kept the language in there. And now also, I also think we're just pitching to Priceline in Australia, and having te reo on our products is a huge point of difference. They get pitched sort of 300 products a month, new businesses in that a month. And yeah, they haven't really seen anything like this before. So that's sort of, I guess, sticking true to knowing our purpose and vision. And like, if we listened to NZTE, we would have just been like every other product going towards Priceline. So yeah, knowing that, and then probably more, again, talking to other Māori business owners. That also gave me the confidence, obviously talking with Anton. And then I've got another sort of idol I look up to, Hana Tapiata, who has very good habits and knows her true south. So yeah, just being able to have other Māori business owners to have these sort of conversations rather than listening to the mainstream, I guess.
That's awesome. I thought that was somebody with a comment, but no, that's the airport announcement.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, all good, all good. Hey, we're just about out of time, but we've got 125 people on this call who are looking at potentially starting their own thing. What advice would you give to people at this early stage?
I think knowing the higher purpose is good. I guess if you're just doing something to create an income, it's going to become quite hard to, when the going gets tough, to actually keep pursuing it. I guess with us, what really changed me was when I did a summer studentship after uni, looking at the prescription charge increase. It went from $3 to $5 per item, and I had to go around and interview whānau around the challenges they faced with this, and just seeing whānau choosing between having to buy a loaf of bread or to get their diabetes medicine that week was, yeah, it was pretty saddening, and sort of instilled something in me that things need to change. And yeah, now knowing that this business that I've created is eventually, hopefully, if it gets profitable, is going to help change this society, I guess. And then obviously, just finding that higher purpose is probably the best bit of advice. I mean, I've seen, I guess, can have a purpose, any sort of purpose, but and you can sell any sort of product and make a profit off it. But if you really want to, I guess, make waves and changes, having that purpose and putting that business to help do that is, I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, it's a bit long-winded, but
no, we get it. Thanks, Brendan.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for making time right off the flight for us. We really appreciate it, and all the best for
All
both
good.
three.
Thank you, and all the best to everyone else.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Ka kite. Ka kite.
Ka kite. All right, friends. Well, that is a wrap for today. Look forward to seeing you all next week. I won't be on the call, but you will be with Jeff and Paul, and I'll be there in a future session. So have a fantastic rest of your day. Get in touch if you've got any questions. Have a look at the canvas when it comes out and start working through it, and look forward to seeing you again in a future session.